Greetings, family. This is Kyle Dixon here with another session with our esteemed guest, Professor David Kelly. Professor Kelly, how you doing, sir?
Doing wonderful. Glad to be here. Great summer. How
Indeed.
was yours? Great.
Great, great. I mean, we got about 10 days left. Yeah, a week left. But
Wow.
the weather is telling us that no, summer's about over. It's like summer's about
Well,
done.
it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, it was a productive summer.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked itself out. Yes.
Indeed.
Go ahead.
A lot of stuff going on this summer, right? With the weather, with the COVID, the monkeypox, especially here in New York. So yeah, definitely. But definitely this summer was productive. I would say that for sure. A lot of things were happening. People were getting back to what we call normal. Things were moving along ahead. And there were also some other things that we're going to talk about today, family, in regards to some of the news, the latest news and events and just things that are transpiring as the year is beginning to wind down in September. So yeah, Professor Kelly, I know we had talked about, the COVID and coming out of COVID and us being, educators and teachers. Well, let's start with there. Like, how have you seen any changes in the beginning of this new school year? Because I know certain schools started earlier than expected, especially on the East Coast. So
Yeah.
how was that?
Well, we didn't have any COVID requirements primarily. If we did have them, it wasn't something that was thrust in our face. It wasn't so much of a requirement as to something you can't enter a room without X, Y, or Z. So we still have some requirements, but it's usually more of a laissez-faire type of environment. And the people, at least most of my students don't wear a mask. I have a couple may have it in class, but myself and some of the professors, we don't have it. I'm pretty sure there's other people who walking around mask on, but it's been a relaxed environment. And on top of that, I attend a lot of events over the summer, and no mask required. The COVID cases, at least I didn't come down with COVID. My kids or wife didn't come down with COVID, so we was pretty good. So I don't want to say we are post COVID. But the key is, as far as I'm concerned, I would like to be.
Right. Yeah. All of us, I would assume, would like to be. Okay. Yeah. So same here with me. Mask. Wear my mask where I can. If I'm on a train, I wear the mask. But again, I take very great care of my health. I try to, at least. Try to tone down on the junk, get my exercise in, like we talk about going to the gym and things like that. Self-care, I just did a video on Black men and self-care, which is very important. Like going to the gym, getting walks, like you said, sometimes just, some a smoothie maybe and some nuts and some seeds for the day. And that's it, So,
ideally speaking, you're correct about that as far as exercising to prevent yourself from becoming, seriously ill. And you're right. The key is those who tend to exercise more and maintain BMI, they tend to be able to do well in life, generally, because they're dealing with the weight issue, but they're also dealing with the health factor as far as diet and nutrition, So if you can, you bottom out with good BMI, and then you also do good practices as far as eating healthy, as you state, fruits, nuts, and vegetables or something like that, you will do particularly well in all areas of life, And I also seen a report that state that people who tend to have those diets tend to have what we call processing issues that are less burdensome as far as those who, have, other diets. So for example, if you have high levels of nutrition and minerals in your diet, your processing will go a little bit better. Basically it comes down to this. Your kidneys and liver and lungs and heart and brain need minerals in order to function, right? Yeah.
Right.
So in essence, what better source of minerals there would be than fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, right? So in essence, you're going to process a little bit better. It's almost as if, you do one, you get the other,
right.
As opposed to saying, oh, I want to get a beef sandwich or a chicken sandwich and think that that's going to, benefit you. In essence, you do have minerals and some kind of vitamins and some kind of fats, good fats, and certain proteins that you find in those animal products. But at the end of the day, you can't get one without getting the other, and that's usually what happens. I was talking to another student earlier, talking about damage being done. his statement is that sometimes we are far gone between trying to repair ourselves because too much damage has been done. You're right. So trying to be healthy at 70 is not going to work like a person who's trying to turn that corner at 30. A 70-year-old person, the damage has been done, dude. Your body have committed to whatever it committed to.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, you know? But a 20 or 30-year-old, they may be able to make a change because they don't have what we call those morbidity issues. And those morbidity issues look more like diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, things like that. And those morbidity issues, you know, at 20, what we look at is pre-stages as opposed to being diagnosed in your 50s and 60s as having hypertension or diabetes or something, or cholesterol. So ideally speaking, I'm 20 years old and I say I have a cholesterol of, let's say, 190 or 195. I'm borderline, you know, a potential case for, you know, some kind of cholesterol issues later on in life, you know. So ideally, you may want to make those pivot at 25 or 30, reduce your diet of animal products, and then you'll see that the cholesterol level will drop. You know, and you know, some research shows that cholesterol level is directly associated with animal products. You know, and you know that it comes down to that because you see the people who are vegetarians, or I mean vegans. I didn't say vegetarians, but vegans. Yeah. And their cholesterol levels are usually at the 160 level, 170 level.
Is that median or is that like?
That's good. Bad is when it start hitting 200.
Okay.
You know, so if your cholesterol is 200, you're going to be on some kind of drug, a statin drug, to keep, you know, and a statin drug is not what people make it out to be. A statin drug is basically saying that we're going to stabilize the cholesterol along the wall. So you can continue to eat the beef and the pork and the chicken and the fish as if it's a great thing. But what we're going to do is stabilize the cholesterol so that no pieces break off and float down and give you a stroke or a heart attack.
Interesting.
So what we're going to do is stabilize the cholesterol that's in the arteries and keep them stable. And that's what a statin does.
Interesting. So let me ask this. In regards to it, what happens if it does break off? Or let me ask this, how can it come off without affecting the bloodstream and causing a stroke or a heart attack, a blockage? You know,
well, if it come off, you're gonna get a stroke or a heart attack, period. Wow. That's what's happening. That's what they call an ischemic attack. Yeah. A stroke. You're gonna have a stroke. There's nothing you can do about that. Wow. So the key is reduce your cholesterol level. If you reduce your cholesterol level, I mean, it will go away. Your body will break down cholesterol. Yeah. Your body makes cholesterol too. Right. So in essence, we make cholesterol and we actually consume cholesterol. So technically, you don't necessarily have to consume cholesterol. Cholesterol is found everywhere. Your body makes fat for the most part. And how do you make fat? You make fat from sugar, you know? So ideally speaking, we don't necessarily have to actually eat cholesterol. It comes in naturally occurring environments like nuts has cholesterol in it, you know, certain level of fruits, like an avocado has certain level of fats in it, you know? So ideally speaking, you don't necessarily have to consume an animal product because animal products cholesterol tend to be the worst cholesterol there are out there. In essence, you know, we wind up rebounding and thinking that we're doing something well, but we really hurting ourselves, you know? And this is what he was talking about, sometime the damage is done. But what I was trying to get him to see is that the damage is not necessarily done physically, it's done psychologically. Because as soon as you have engaged mentally into a certain mindset, it's hard for you to break away that mental engagement. You know, you already engaged in the fact that a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A is the best thing in life, and I'm going to get one on the way home or for dinner or you know what I'm saying? Right. Or I'm going to go to a steak house. I'm going to a fish house or whatever they do, a seafood place, you know? Right. And you get a lot of people who thinking that, you know, seafood is better than, you know, beef and pork. You know, people who sitting here glaring, oh, I don't eat beef, I don't eat pork. As if they say it's something important. You can tell that to somebody who don't do research, you know, who don't read, who don't actually look at some of the morbidity issues going on. Chicken, fish is lighter, is not as an aggressive muscle as is chicken.
Uh-huh.
But ideally speaking, muscle is muscle is muscle is muscle. They all function the same way.
Now let me
Muscle,
add, let me interject this. Even if it's baked fish, broiled fish,
it's
sticky
muscle.
fish. Okay. I just want to make that clear because for my fish
it's,
out there, no
it's
diss, but I still
basically,
eat it sometimes too. So
it's like a dude with a little bit of muscle or a dude with a bigger muscle. What's the
okay.
difference? They all function the same way. A fish needs to swim. So
Yeah.
in order for it to swim, it needs to move its muscles to do what
Right.
it does, right?
Right.
Right. A cow, a pig,
Mm-hmm.
you need to do the same type of muscular movement as a fish in order for its muscle to contract and relax.
Right.
In order for you to contract and relax, therefore you're going to have that kind of muscle movement, and it functions the same way. So in essence, that's why you see people who eat chicken and fish still have high levels of cholesterol. You see it in their results. And then then you turn the page and you look at people who are vegans, who don't eat animal cholesterol.
Right.
Then you start to see those numbers drop and go the other way. There's good cholesterol, then there's bad cholesterol. The key is that you want to have the good cholesterol. The good cholesterols are the things that keeps us healthy, to keep us protein production moving, to keep our organs functioning the way it does. It keeps basically keep us at a healthy stage.
Yeah.
As
the
opposed
brain
to
needs
the bad
fat.
cholesterol.
Because the brain, like people talk about cholesterol and these things like it's bad, but it's just an overabundance or a type of cholesterol because the brain needs fat. Brain needs fatty tissue, So and like that for the heart and everything too.
Yeah, but getting back to answering his question, I say, listen, the damage is not done physically; it's done psychologically. It's when you have mentally committed to a behavior or a mindset or a theory or a practice, and you have bestowed that practice onto your children and their children, and got them to believe that this is the way of life. And what we call it is culture. We call it ethnicity.
Right.
We call it cultural ethnic diets. We call it various practices we all do along Thanksgiving and Christmas. We all do it. So, and then the worst thing is we teach our kids to do it. I think we had this talk maybe a year ago about the same thing.
We did.
How we had to literally unlearn the things that we was taught to become better moving forward.
Indeed.
And the sad thing about it is that when you start to pivot and change the things that to make your life better, your kids will not appreciate that. That's the hardest part about it.
Yeah.
Because you're changing, but you're changing in the midst of other people. And when you change in the midst of other people, they really don't recognize it.
Yeah, to interject, I experienced that in my household when my mother started to buy different types of milk and bread, just the little basic things. And I'm like, what's this multigrain stuff? I'm like, I'm used to the white bread where it's soft and you're making the peanut butter jelly. You know what I'm saying? Like the fried bologna. I came up on that. So when she came with the multigrain, it got seeds in it. Seeds are getting stuck in my teeth. I'm like, what is this? But she kept buying. She's like, look, this is what it is. Mama's buying the food, so this is what we eating. So over time, I got used to it. I'm like, that's the only bread I really eat now. If I do eat bread, is I try to go for like the multigrain if I'm going to eat. So
but it's a change of environment. If you change, and you talk to why those most successful people tend to isolate. They raise their children in isolation. They isolate, and they do certain things in isolation because what it's doing is it reaffirming the things that are beneficial in their life, and it's taking away the things that are unbeneficial in their life. So isolation can be great, but isolation with levels of interaction. You could be interacting with an individual online, maybe limited in person or something like that. But isolation tends to work when you want to change a person's behavior. And we see it among people in a substance abuse program. You know how people go to substance abuse or drug treatment programs?
Yeah, Alcohol's Anonymous and things like that, drug treatment.
So they used to put them in these little centers for like 6 months, 3 months, long periods of time. But the reason why that didn't work is because the problem was that they was waiting till they get out. It was like jail, as opposed to being a way of life. Right. So when you change it, you make it isolation a way of life, then you will start to see the growth in an individual. And then some people will embrace it, other people won't.
Right.
So the people who don't embrace it, you got to separate the people who don't embrace it from the people who do embrace it, and you keep them like that. Like-minded people must stay among each other. Unlike-minded people, you must, you got to shake them down because they can actually destroy an environment.
Yeah, because one is going to end up being more so than not. Like again, like if you were a person who smokes all the time and you don't smoke, either they're gonna stop smoking or you're gonna start smoking. So it's like it's
Yeah,
you know,
you're
and
right.
then
It is.
and we know even if you don't smoke, you're gonna be affected by them because they do smoke. So it's like
Yeah.
when you smoking, you
I
don't.
have I have a friend who's a principal for in a District 75 school. District 75 is like a special needs type of school, right?
Okay.
And he's going through some problems like most people are going through, trying to find teachers to, control these classes, right?
Mhm.
So he had this one paraprofessional who's doing an excellent job at controlling these kids and getting them online to meet those requirements.
Mhm.
So what he's doing with her is he's pulling her out different settings and putting her in other settings, pulling her out. So she do excellent here, she put her out, put her in the needy area. So she's constantly moving this person.
Yeah.
And I asked him, why is he doing that? He said, I'm doing that because hopefully, whatever she doing for this population can work with another population.
Mhm.
I said, but it don't always work that way. What you
Yeah.
may need to do is keep that person there, model that behavior from afar, and don't
Yes.
bring that to it, because what you're doing is you're policing her.
Yes.
You're using her as a police as opposed to using her as a model. And
Yes.
policing have never really worked for her.
No.
It worked temporarily because
Yeah.
you're there. As soon as you leave, what happens?
Everything gets chaotic again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with education, if you take that same concept of, bringing people of like-minded into an environment, sometimes, you may have to leave that person to serve as a beacon of understanding.
Yeah.
It's like Harvard and Yale and Princeton. They didn't become the great universities by taking in underperforming kids.
Mm-hmm.
They became the great, and to this day, they still take kids who are high performing. They don't take low performing kids. There's other places for those, but they don't take them there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's how you continue that environment of progression. Even when it comes to diet, exercise, social environment choices, even in relationships. I think the biggest thing you can do is dummy down your requirements for a relationship. Because at the end of the day, you will pay for that.
Yeah.
You will pay for being with someone who refused to grow. Failure to grow will mean the end of everything that goes on in that relationship, job. I don't care what it is you do. McDonald's menu.
Oh no, not whack down. No, not whack down. The murder burgers, not those. Those. Man. So let me ask this, because you hit on two-prong, right? So one, we talk about health in general, Black folks, psychology, affecting our psychology more so than just our physical. We have, a lot of people have been, transitioning, passing recently. A lot of brothers, David Arnold, one of the comedians that I watched, his brother was 54. We kind of mentioned this before in our previous talks, family. If you look at some of our previous videos and about Black men's health and just Black people's health in general, but also in regards to like the education, like you mentioned it earlier, but like what's some like really quick steps that people can do in reference to kind of get their health back, whether in their 50s, 30s, 40s, 60s even, because there's never too late, but there is a span of time where it's like it's not as effective,
What we say and most people say is a growth mindset.
Yeah.
We always hear that term, a growth mindset. You remember we used to use that all the time among kids and try to get them to, look outside of themselves. A growth mindset is not good for a population of people who's not in a growth environment. So you can have a growth environment, but where are the tools that's going to help you reinforce whatever it is you're trying to work on?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that, but you need a growth mindset. And sometimes you have to remove yourself from an environment to another environment to have that growth mindset. And then from there, you move on to the other, Right. So the idea that we're suffering from is that we don't have people around us who have that growth mindset, And the growth mindset also means changes that's going to be consistent. It is not whatever you do as a 30-year-old who's going to change their diet. You have to also think about differently when you get 40 and 50. Certain things you can't consume like we did before. Like I love walnuts, but can I eat walnuts in the next 20, 30 years? I may not be able to consume a walnut in 20, 30 years. I may have to switch it to a more simpler nut, maybe like an almond or something like that, something less aggressive as opposed to a walnut, And, you just have to have that mindset around diet. And then you also have to have the same concept around doing your own research, because you got to remember, like we say in research is politics. If it works, it works. If it don't, it don't.
Yeah.
That may be the principle behind it. If it works, we're going to promote it. If it doesn't work, we're not going to promote it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They still going to promote it anyway because the people in charge is going to push that garbage regardless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we see that among a lot of medications and treatments and devices. If it's not effective, it's still on that market.
Definitely, yeah.
High blood pressure for people of color is a big issue. The medications they put us on is unreal. The dude had 3-4 medications for high blood pressure. I said, well, you don't know me. Oh, because you know you got to be on at least 3 different medications. I said, is that effective medication? Because if you got to put you on 3, where's the one that could be effective? So is there the one that you can take that can do the job of a 3?
Correct.
You know, because you see that with HIV drugs for the most part. Instead of taking 18 pills you took 20 years ago, now you're down to 1 pill.
1 pill, right? I was going to say that right. They narrowed it down
over
the past 20 years, 20, 30 years.
So the idea is that if something is working, we can't just look at the research and see that that is it, because the research in itself can be biased. The investigator can be biased. There can be backdoor deals. The magazines that's being published can be biased. It's not written in a way that you respect it or you want it to be respected. So ideally, everything can be biased. So therefore, it becomes you as an individual to do your individual research and fact finding. And that's when you start to see real change come to play. You got to learn. You got to become a practitioner of whatever it is you're dealing with. I'm dealing with diabetes. Okay, fine. How does diabetes work?
Yeah.
How does I get my pancreas to produce more insulin? Thus, it wasn't producing before. Is that protein production dead forever? Are those cells dead forever? Or can they ever produce insulin at some point? What can I do? What minerals can I use? So you're thinking outside of the body. Then you look at how medication interact with this pancreas. You know, the fact that I'm taking insulin and I'm not producing insulin. So is it going to make my pancreas dormant for the rest of my life?
That's good.
Because it's no longer producing. So how can I jumpstart my pancreas to produce more? You know, that's the type of research. That's the type of deep dive that, the research is out there. I mean, the information is out there, but you have to marry individual growth mindset along with the research, talking to your doctor, and together you come up with a unique plan, because we all don't have the same DNA. We all don't have the same DNA. And you'll see it when it comes down to transplants. If they're going to transplant an organ to an individual, on the first level, you may be connected. But when you start getting to the next level of DNA and sampling, and the third level, you start to see that there's little differences. And that's when we take the suppressant drugs to get on that level.
Okay.
To suppress this but this is fine, but this is the problem. So to suppress this immunity from coming into play, we suppress it with the suppressant drug. Therefore, that person can hold on to that liver or kidney for a long period of time. You know, and that's how it works. So we are not necessarily the same people.
Right.
We could be, similar. But but it ain't going to be the same. And that's why you will do your individual work along with the professionals, the doctors, and the people who do the research with me. Because you can't dispel the fact that these people who do this research day in and day out don't know what they talk about, because they do. They wouldn't have been successful if they didn't know what they're talking about. They do. But what you need to do is add to that practice. Whatever they're doing, you come with some new information and help to see where it fits into the greater scheme of things, and then it works for you. It's like, like the Queen. I'm pretty sure you and I could not live to 96 years old and be as clear as she was in public. I would have been looking on a pencil.
I mean, when you oppress, indigenous people, and you don't have to work a 9 to 5, and you can just wake up and just kind of, be. I think most of us will live to 96.
Hold up, you trying to say she never had a job?
Yeah, that's what I'm basically saying. She had a job. She had a job.
What was her job?
Huh?
What was her job?
Right.
I'm struggling with her job.
Her job was to look nice for the people. You know what I'm saying? That was her job. And to suppress other colored folks around the world. That was her job. You know what I'm saying? A representation of that. Yeah.
Oh, to reaffirm the fact that I am the queen. That's what she was doing. Going around like, yo, I'm here. Don't worry about it. She ain't doing no work when she got there, right?
Right, but she got
She
there.
ain't signed no checks.
Yeah, exactly, right? Oh my goodness. Oh man.
Well, basically, when you have a person like that, she was able to afford the top medical providers, the top researchers and scientists. We've seen it with a lot of people who would have been dead 20 years ago, died later on in life, and I'm pretty sure it's crazy that wealthy people tend to die north of 80 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And poor people die south of 80 years old. The poorer you are, the less likely you are to live long. And that's like across the board, all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you look at this lady at 96 years old, you be like, hold up. You on borrowed time, lady. Her mother lived to be 100.
Yeah. Yo.
And they like, yo, your mother lived to be 100. I'm betting that you could be 100 too. But guess what? Your mother had better kids than you. That's why you died 4 years later.
Man, like I said, they ain't built them like they used to, man. That's what.
Yo, her kids was giving her holy hell. You see the problems her kids was giving her.
But I'm gonna tell
she
you,
had ghetto problems, huh?
Right. But I'm gonna tell you this, Professor Kelly, real talk. My aunt, speaking of the queen, a queen in my family, matriarch, she just transitioned. Like she was 96, and she died a day before her birthday. So, and she had what, 5 children? Yeah. So like it's my dad's aunt, so she was my great aunt. But they just had the service this weekend, man. But she was 96, man. And she was having health problems and things like that, of course. But she wasn't like totally invalid. She was still kind of clear for the most part. Still somewhat clear. It was maybe like I say about maybe right before COVID is where she started to kind of get a little fuzzy. You know what I'm saying? Like right before COVID.
But we all have the ability to live long if we just pivot. And most of us don't pivot because you got to remember at 96 years old, you can't be eating macaroni and cheese and fried chicken.
Yeah, no.
Your diet got to look
You can, but there are consequences and repercussions for that behavior. You know what I'm saying? So you can do it, but we wouldn't.
Your ankles unswelled up on you and they're not going down. They swell up and they're not going down. That's what you could do if you don't change,
Yeah.
But ideally speaking, we have to change. And that's the answer to your question. So, and then the biggest issue is how often should people make dietary changes? As often as possible.
Yeah.
You make dietary changes as often as possible because ideally speaking, your body is changing as often as possible.
Yeah.
Circumstances, environments, what we call it, epigenetics are constantly changing. The environmental effect on the genes is a 24 hours, 7 days a week type of thing. So you got to think about changes. So what does the change look like? Let's say, for example, I drank water today, which is your base, but maybe sometime you may need a fruit juice, a real fruit juice. Why? Because you may be running low on minerals. Why? Because you may be doing this. But the key is that you have to be aware of the fact that I'm switching up. You can't continue one because you could become toxic by drinking the same thing every day. Blueberry juice is important, but try drinking it every day and see what happens.
Right. Speak on that, Mr. Professor Kelly, because a lot of people don't realize that there's toxins. We talk about this in our men's group. There are toxins in all the foods that we eat. You and I have talked about this before. So you continue to eat the same thing. The thing that's going to heal you, you're actually building up more of the toxins than it healing you because you're doing it too much. You're overusing it. Speak on that.
Yeah, but the idea is that, I think we talked about this last year sometime around, potatoes having toxicity built into it. And that's one of the reasons why we can't eat it raw. Right. But if we cook it, the toxins have become less, the molecules are broken down, thus we're able to process it.
Right.
Great. Ideally speaking, there's toxins in everything, but it's taken in short amounts, in small amounts. But the idea is that the human condition, we already know that. The human being has some kind of what we call clairvoyancy around knowing what to do and what not to do. What hurts us is when we cook it. That's when we become ignorant. We become ignorant when we cook it or process it. Like I always tell my students, I say this, here's an apple. I can give you the apple. You can eat the apple. Better yet, I want to give you a bowl of apples. Here's a bowl of apples.
Yeah.
Eat as much as you want. And then they'll say, oh, how many are you gonna eat? Oh, I'm gonna eat one. I said, why not eat 5 or 6? Nah, my body's good. I'm good. The reason why they're not gonna eat 5 or 6 because they know that it becomes toxic to the body. Eating 5 or 6 apples will hurt you. But if you process it, let's say, for example, you're gonna eat a whole bowl of hot wings, buffalo wings, right?
Yeah, buffalo, yeah.
How many wings are you gonna eat?
Lemon pepper.
Oh.
Lemon pepper in there. Lemon pepper.
Yeah, so they say lemon pepper, hot wings with buffalo, whatever it is you're gonna put on there, right? How many you gonna go? Oh man, I don't know. It all depends. There's no number. You know what I'm saying? There's a number with the apples, but there's no number with them. And that's the problem. That's what the human condition is all about. So the human being, we know what to do. When all animals do it. An animal will not overeat something that is natural because there's toxicities that are built into it, and it will prevent us from killing ourselves. Try eating 18 apples at one time and see what happens. It's going to hurt you. But cooked food does not give you that effect. What cooked food does is it increases the fat content, the protein content, and the cholesterol. And that in itself will wind up killing you. You eat too many hot dogs or too many wings, the cholesterol level, your fat and your protein levels all going to come up. Carbohydrate levels are all going to jump up on you, and that's going to cause you to gain weight, poor circulation, poor diet, and then we're going to start giving names like, oh, you know, you diabetic. Oh, you know, you hypertensive. Oh, you know, you have XYZ going on with you. Your kidneys are not doing, your liver, you got fatty liver, or your heart is not doing what it's supposed to do. And that's associated just strictly with processed food.
Yeah. And we do it with alcohol too. Like what you just mentioned, we do with alcohol. We go out and drink and people vomiting, throwing up, you know. Like
another thing is this. You drink alcohol, so how many, I give you some alcohol, right? How many drinks are you gonna have? I don't know. I may be able to put down a whole bottle. You know, they don't have an ounce to it.
Right.
But when you give them some water, how much water are you gonna drink? Man, give me like that 16 ounce. And you're like, nah, I'm good with that. Like, And so when you're thinking about making changes, a person, if you go natural, it's gonna self-regulate. And that's how, at least I tell my students that is always move to the point of unprocessed, no super processed food. Super processed foods are things like bread, potato chips. Those are super processed type foods.
Very refined.
And they tend to be the most unhealthy, and your body has no ability to regulate it. So you can actually eat how many chips you want to eat, cookies, cakes, you can eat as much as you want to eat. There's no stop. But the natural foods will stop you, and that's how you control your diet. And then you start to see the changes in those numbers, or what we call risk factors, tend to go away because you move towards a nutritional diet. And I talk to my nutritionist about this because often I talk about nutrition, and I say, I don't know nothing about nutrition. I said, I can't honor that anymore. Because I'm not a nutritionist, I can't honor the fact that I can say, I'm not a nutritionist. No. If I'm not a nutritionist, I need to learn something about nutrition.
Correct.
I'm not a cardiologist, but I need to learn something about cardiology.
Yeah, about the heart.
You know?
It's true. Very true. Yeah, I may not be a specialist, but I need to know a little something because this is my body. Thank you. That's a cop out. Yeah, that's a cop out, man.
Yeah, and we don't take ownership to that.
We don't. We don't.
Now, the conversations that I have with my doctors, my dentists, whatever ailments things are going on, it's a real conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to you like, oh, how do you get a cavity? That's not a point. I'm not going to have a conversation about how you have a cavity.
Right.
I'm talking about the longevity of a root canal. Of an implant. Is an implant, and how could you get 15, 20, 30 years on an implant?
Right.
That's the conversation I'm having. And at what point is what quality of the bone that needs to be available in order for you to get that 20, 30 year on an implant? I'm not talking about an extraction and a filling. We all know what that's all about. We should know that. But we should also know we should be able to take a mental deep dive in whatever affects us. And should be honest with you. All right, you got diabetes. All right, if you got diabetes, we need to have that conversation about what you got type 2 diabetes. What is type 2 diabetes?
Yeah.
How can you control it? You know, is it weight related or is it not weight related? Is it work on that stuff? We need to take these deep dive and go beyond what we call pedestrian information. Pedestrian information is, oh, he's taking metformin for diabetes. All right, we know what metformin is and we know what they use for diabetes. Hey, right now let's go take a deeper dive with that.
Yeah.
You know, let's take a deeper, and that's when you start to learn and make changes. And at that point, you start to see that. I got a class over the weekend about guys, as you state, cooking for themselves. I know we often talk about, you know, guys, you know, getting with women because she know how to cook or she's gonna cook. Mommy cook for
like
you.
I have to eat.
You know, I said the best thing to do is you have to learn how to prepare your meals.
Yes.
And when you prepare your meals, you're preparing your meals for 75 to 80% raw, uncooked, unprocessed. 70, 80%. They're looking at me like I said this.
It's like you're an alien. Like what?
No, you know, as if your response to me is going to make me feel bad.
Right.
Dude, let me tell you something. There's a thing called a cemetery services, emergency room,
right,
hospice. There's a lot of things that's going on that you can take part in if you want to.
Yeah.
But if you want to prevent you from hospice and cemetery services and emergency room, do this. You know what I'm saying?
You would cut down the percentage.
We're all going to end up in ICU at some point. We're also going to end up in hospice or cemetery services. We're all going to end up there. Good, bad, or indifferent, but it's how you're going to get there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when you're going to get there. That's the key. You know? So by me having this conversation about how to prepare meals and everything else, dude, I'm just a messenger. I'm sharing with you what I know, what has been best practice for other people as well as myself. And these are the things that we can do to help mitigate any particular problems you may have in the future. You learn how to cook and not depend on this young lady to make, or that you may be living with, or your wife or your mama to cook your meals for you, because she may kill you. You know what I'm saying?
That's blood, but that is very, again, she might not even know she's doing that, but if you're aware.
She did it out of love.
Right.
She did it out of love.
Oh man,
you know?
We can get into that. We're talking about food and emotions and love and how people go to food for emotions. Like that's one thing we're talking about with my group now, with food and emotions. Like most things we do is out of emotion, and people go to comfort food, because it's fatty, and you're craving the fat because that gives your body some satiation, gives your body some feel-good hormones, was the endorphins. So you go to the ice cream, you go to the mac and cheese, you go to the fried chicken. We've done it. I've done it myself. But it's like when you recognize where that's coming from, then you can begin to make changes, because the food that you're actually going to comfort is killing you. So,
yes, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's literally doing that. You know what I mean?
And it's like, okay. The key is that you have to switch up. You know, I know, like we said before, my mom was a good cook. She's an excellent cook. Until I start to research and become a cook myself. And start to cook for myself and prepare for myself. And then you realize that your mom don't know how to cook 10, 15 things. That's it. They cook the same thing over and over for the rest of their life. And then you ask yourself, why do these people suffer from morbidity issues? Because they're cooking the same 10 or 15 things. You've been eating oatmeal all my life. Do you think I ever want to eat another oatmeal again? Grits. You know, I'm tired. I wouldn't ever want to eat grits and oatmeal in my life again. I did that all the time. A bowl of cereal. I'm a grown man. What am I eating a bowl of cereal for? Are you out of your mind? What am I eating a bowl of cereal? Are you crazy? But anyway,
but you know, hey man, that's the thing now, man. With the youth, did this whole cereal kick thing.
We ain't doing that.
Look,
you're a grown man eating Fruit Loops and Captain Crunch and first. Are you out of your mind, dude?
Yellow number 5, red 40, blue with the blue one, lake all those neurochemicals, right?
Yeah, and all those kids too. Bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches.
Yeah,
and all
bodega,
go
to the bodega.
Yes.
In Chicago, they do the Cheeto cheese, Frito cheese, where they get the pour the hot melted cheese in the bag and.
Well, it is what it is, but the point is that you have to make the changes, and if you don't make the changes, then those are the things, and then we die on different levels. You die on different levels. And I was talking to a young man this morning today. I say young man because he's like 80 years old. I call him a young man.
Okay.
Like you say, It was say, he said, you know, I live among wisdom. I said, what do you mean by that? I know what he mean by that, but he said, when you get my age, you start to live among wisdom, become your life. Everything you do has wisdom attached to it. You don't do anything out of just reaction or normal behavior. Everything from the time you, I sat there and I indulged him a little bit. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, look at these shoes that I'm wearing. I said, yeah, you got the shoes with the little flaps on it. He said, why do you think I got the shoes with the flap on it? I said, because you can't bend down and tie your shoe. Exactly. And if I do bend down, I may pull a muscle. So if I get the little flap, boom, 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 and they're soft, they're wide, I'm able to walk. Wisdom. Does it have anything to do with style? No. But he said, everything as I do, I look at the benefit attached to it. And if I'm doing it, what would it prevent from happening if I do it this way versus doing it the other way?
Yeah.
You know, and that's where wisdom comes in. And a lot of us don't ever reach that point of wisdom. You see it among older people.
Yeah.
You know, you got a 60, 70-year-old dude still wearing Uptowns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, a 60, 70-year-old dude should not be wearing no Uptowns. You know, those are not designed for that type of walking. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think so. You know I don't think they are. You know what I'm saying? I know you styling, you know, OG. I know, you know, Elder, I know you styling, but yeah, I don't think that's appropriate.
Yeah, but you know, wisdom, he said, wisdom is what I do all my life. From diet to exercise to friends to families, associates. And it goes back to saying his isolation. He said, yo, I deal with people only that I can only digest. There's another guy talk about digestion of people. I heard some people say that before online, that I can only digest. If I don't deal with people, if I can't digest them. And what he's really saying is that I don't deal with people that doesn't fulfill me.
Yeah.
That doesn't fulfill the requirements that I need to fulfill. So for example, if you go into a store, you're purchasing an item, that item that you purchase is fulfilling. But you're not going to go to a club or hang out with some young people and do all kind of crazy things and pass time because it's not fulfilling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what it comes down to. So, but most people don't have wisdom. Is a rare commodity, and it comes with confidence, self-assurance, self-efficacy. A lot of that have to be attached to it. Some of us don't ever reach those stages of having wisdom in our life, and we don't. And if we do, we may have pockets of wisdom.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. And some of it comes from heavy trauma too, on top of that.
Yeah. But some people don't, they react to it because they don't want to read into life. Some people want the easy way out. So wisdom requires steps.
Yes.
There's steps to it. There's a lot of, and then if you really question it, then it becomes more subjective, but it becomes a right and wrong situation. So for example, wisdom would say, it can be anything like paying your gym membership. My gym membership is, I would do a 12-month or I'm going to do a 1 month. Right? It's up to you how you want to do it. Within 6 months or something like that, they may change the prices on you. Right. And you locked into it. It changes, you know? Right. But if you do the whole year, you're locked into the year and they can't change the prices. You know what I'm saying? That's what wisdom is all about. Another thing is that, you got a gym membership. Are you able to go to different locations if you travel? I'm going to travel all over the country and the gyms all over the country. So therefore, can I use them all over the world? Yeah, that's wisdom. Yeah. That's flexibility built into it. It also have the pricing that you're looking for. That's it. And most of us don't ever get to that point. We let the circumstances dictate the outcome. Thus, we're suffering because of it. Same thing with the job. Like my 16-year-old son I use him as a test dummy. Okay. Because all the stuff he say at 16, I'm looking at him like, boy, you glad to have a dad like me. I mean, when he got paid this summer, right, for doing some jobs he was getting, I mean, he was ignorant. You know, kids want to buy stupid things, you know, expensive, dumb things.
Was it like sneakers? Like, was it mainly sneakers?
It was computer-based stuff. It was, I mean, a trip here. He wanted to do some biking thing. A lot of things that will waste your money. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, waste your money. You don't take your little money. You don't go from I think one check he got was like the $1,200, right? I said, you don't take your little $1,200 and blow it. And then the next as soon as your check is done, you broke. He's like, yeah, so I just wait. I say, but you listen, you ain't gonna go back to work until next year. He's like, no, I can work over the the Christmas. I say, yeah, but ain't gonna work that way.
Right.
Come Christmas, New Year, it's gonna fly by. You're back in school come January. Yep. You're not working until June of next summer. I said, so this is what you want to do, dude? He said, what? I said, this is what you want to do. You're gonna put that in one of those, those things we have online with the Bitcoins and everything.
Yeah.
The day trader thing you put in there. I said, you take the money, you put it in there. They put all of it, but just put enough in there.
Yeah, right.
It's gonna make money according to how much risk you take. So if you need $10, you can get $10, but you're gonna make $10 in a week. You're gonna lose $10. It's an investment. But guess what? Your base money is gonna be there. That took all summer to get him to realize it.
Wow. I
said it's a savings account and it's also an investment account. So your $1,200 may drop to $1,100 or it may drop to $1,300. It all depends on the economy.
Right.
But you can always pull money in and out of it and always have money. Because what do you need? What does a teenager need? $10, $15, $20 here and there, right?
Yeah.
Unless they're doing drugs or something like that.
Right.
But
that's it. You do, yeah.
So exactly. So I say you can get 10, 15, 20 bucks out of here whenever you want, but your money is growing. That's wisdom. That's what's missing. And the kids will take they blow it or some stupid. Or the one dude, I want to buy me a Gucci belt. A buckle, dude. You ain't buying a belt because the belt costs more than a buckle.
Yeah. Speak on it. Like, yeah, there's leather attached to that belt, but you mainly buying that buckle.
You buying the buckle.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, don't buy them. I mean, these kids, but you need to have that kind of conversation.
True.
And I have another friend who's a pastor, right? I call him a bishop. He ain't no pastor.
Okay.
He's a bishop.
Okay.
Different.
Yeah, it is different.
It's a big difference. And I was like, you're a businessman. You ain't no, I can't call you pastor, but you're a bishop. But anyway, well, I'm talking to him, right? His attitude is this. Let me tell you something. He said, Prof, every time you talk to this dude, he listening. I said, no, I don't think they listen sometimes. I mean, I become demoralized sometimes talking to my kids and you talking to them so you get blue in the face and you think they're not listening. He said, yeah, they listening. They are listening. It's just that you don't see it because you're in the middle of a fight. If you was outside of the fight, you'll see the change.
Yeah.
But you in it doing your thing, you know what I'm saying? And you're right. So, ideally speaking, it did work because he did go online and get the account. He only put $600 in there, but he opened.
That's a start. That's a start.
Yeah.
That's a start. Like that's him going like, okay, Dad. Like, all right, I hear you. So let me I want some because I want to hold it because it's mine. So let me put some.
But shouldn't it always been that way?
Right.
Because I say you don't have a job, so you don't have a steady income. So if you don't have a steady income, this is how you are to create a steady income for yourself. Do it this way.
Let it work for you.
And because you're only 16 years old, you're not worried about the things that other people like.
Right. Y'all got that place to live. Mom and daddy got that. So
yeah. So what you need is junk food money, like Gatorade.
Exactly. I was about to say snacks and clothes, shirts.
Yeah.
Shirt here.
But don't put it past. These kids are liars. Trust me. I don't trust none of them kids. They're manipulators. They're never to be trusted. Trust me. They're never. If they tell you A, it's usually C and D. Not even B. It's C and D. Trust me. They're not what you. We take our kids way too lightly.
Oh man. I mean, it's smart. I mean, that was gonna go into my question. I know time is points. I don't want to keep you too long, but I wanted to get into that because with the crime rate and violence, and we talk about like youth and young adults in general, like you said, don't take them lightly. Like I know a lot of people who are like, it's a weird dynamic because there are certain people that look at the youth as like they're so wayward, they're so chaotic, but then on another end, it's like, well, you either raised them that way or didn't raise them enough. So
you committed no. You got a kid who out there committing an adult crime. Come on, you out there killing people. We may or may not know it. Robbing people, doing all kind of nefarious activities, all behind the gaze of I'm just a kid. No, dude, I cannot treat you that way if I know I may not know ipso facto,
Yeah.
but I know in my senses that you are not 100%. I sense that.
Mm-hmm.
I sense that you are lying. You're part of a system that is based on taking from society and benefiting for your own good.
Mm-hmm.
You sense that with them.
Yeah.
So I can't come at you 100%. What I could do is treat you accordingly, which means treat you from afar, deal with you from afar. And that's what kids do every day. They go out, join these gangs, pull triggers, rob people, do all kind of nefarious activities, cause social and emotional crime. Some of them may even be just some online manipulators. You know what I'm saying? It's a running thing. So, and then we had to sit back and say, oh, we got to treat them like a kid. And then you get the situation where they have arrest records, 5 or 6 arrests in 1 year. Yeah. Who get arrested 5 or 6 times? And mommy and dad may not even know about the fact that this guy got arrested 5 or 6 times. You know?
Yeah.
Mom and dad are so interested because usually, I hate to say this, but you grow up in a hood. By the time the child reaches like 12, 13 years old, they're moving about on their own. And parents are not really looking at that child like that, you know? And by the time that child is 16, 17 years old, you really not looking at their movements in and out of school, you know, what time they're coming home from school, because God forbid your parents are working or doing their own thing. And you trust that this kid is going to school and coming back and doing what he's supposed to do. That's not the case in the hood.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In a hood, that happens 75% of the time or more. That parents are working to try to improve their quality of life. And the teenage kids, not all of them, but a percentage of them will fall into that murky lifestyle. And you got some kids who would actually go to school every day. Make it look like everything is fine, but they got a whole new thing going on. Then you got a whole new subset of kids who may go to school every day and do certain things, but go online and do all kind of craziness, and you wouldn't even know.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? Right under the eye, under your protected eyes, they're doing all kind of craziness. So when dealing with kids, I mean, you gotta have in the back of your mind that this child is not what you think they are, and you got to do a little fact finding. Think and act as if. You know, interrupt them. You know, listen, I'm here. I'm just showing up. When you sense something is wrong, you know something is wrong. You know, kid didn't show up in school today. Why didn't he go to school? You thought he went to school. He didn't go to school. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get hit with one absence, but you'll get hit. You know, one absence is enough. He could have been out doing some more craziness for that one day that he was in the school. Yeah. You know? So crime is an issue in our community primarily because we're not necessarily watching our kids. And then again, they're mimicking adults too.
That's what I'm saying. That's on top of that as well. They're only mimicking behavior that they see. Like
or what's available to them.
Or what's available.
You know what I'm saying?
Talked about that growth environment. Or not growth, ungrowth, misgrowth.
But you got to remember, let's think about it. You got a job. You went to school, get a job. Average person is not going to make $1 million on their job.
Fact.
Average person is going to make anywhere from, I don't know what is the minimum salary, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year to maybe
poverty
70, 80, 90. Huh?
And when the poverty line is what, 20K, 25K?
All right, so the poverty line is 20K.
Yeah.
And the average person is going to make, let's say, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000.
Yeah.
Great. They're not role models to a kid who want better. You're not a role model if you're making 40, 50, 60,000. What makes me think that you're just struggling just to get by? And that's what they technically are doing. So in essence, most adults in themselves are basically not good leaders because they're not showing their kid that they can get out of poverty. And how do you get out of poverty? I can't because I got a 9 to 5, so I got to do this job and I got to do this. Most of them will spend the next 20, 40, 50 years living in poverty, 9 to 5 job. So the kids look at that and they see it as, I don't want that kind of lifestyle. Yeah. You know, they don't want that. And it's a middle class, it's a lower middle class lifestyle. It's a healthy, productive lifestyle. But guess what? They don't want it. And most people don't want it because who want to go to work every day and come home broke? Or better yet, your check can't stitch to the next check day. Right. So you broke in between check days. You know what I'm saying?
That is.
So most people say, you know what? I can't do it. And we're responsible for that.
Yeah.
And then a few of us will go out and do a hustle. So the best among us will get a side gig.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'd do something on the side to make up for the little 40, 50,000. So we actually match that with a little extra money, and that works. That's what you want to do. That is what we want, is the blue standard of what we should do. Side hustle, make a little money, grow it. It could be a business, it could be anything, but you grow it to become the independent individual that you want to be. We always want to go out there and do something that is not like selling drugs or doing something illegal. But when they do something illegal or do something like that, they blow up, and that money is real. They're going from 40,000 to 40,000 a day or a week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's hard to contend with.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? And then you got a little child who's suffering from social issues or emotional issues or lack confidence. Ooh, I'm gonna get me a Birkin bag or a Louis Vuitton bag. I'm gonna get me some eyelashes that look like this. I'm gonna get me a new wig. I'm gonna get me a new bud, a new breast, or whatever have you.
Right, the BBL.
She feeds into that.
The Lambos, the Maybachs, the Bugatti.
Yeah. So the money goes real. So you can't tell a 16-year-old that's not the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That money is real. The results are real. And then you get people who are actually, because you got to remember, most of the people who are selling drugs and doing those things like that don't get caught. Very few get caught. Yes, very few. And the ones who do get caught are the ones on the surface of the board.
Yeah.
Those are the ones on the surface. But the real ones who's really making the 40, 50,000 every day or whatever every week, you're not going to catch those. Those dudes are 3 or 4 levels away. And that's why the system continues itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it continues itself because the people who really moving it is not necessarily getting caught.
Mm-hmm.
And do you really want to stop it? Because that's in essence, a person who's making 40, those are the ones who are paying their attorneys. Those are the ones who are paying the medical doctors or buying the flat screen TVs and beautiful cars like the Lamborghinis and things. Those are the people doing it. You know, and then they, you know what? I'm going to swip this money and become a clean person, meaning I'm going to start a business. Start a business.
Right.
So you start a business, but you have that same mindset built into the business. You know, and there's very few businesses that are going to make $40,000 a day. Very few businesses.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know. So if you got a business, then you can maybe funnel it through the business or something like that. But that's basically where it comes in. So it's kind of hard to get our kids to see anything differently. And not thinking, because some kids who lack what we call social emotional skills will go right into the drug life, right into the gambling life, right into the criminal life, right into the game, because they lack that stuff. Kids who tend to be a little bit more comfortable and stable, they actually run the good route. They are the ones who makes up what we say the 85% of our kids. 85% of our kids don't have those problems, but the 15% are the ones are usually ones we see on the news, who are part of the gangs, who commit the same levels of crime. I know in New York City what they was doing, they was looking at the people who committing the crime. It was the same people. Did you know that?
No. I mean, the same type of people or the same people?
The same people. The same people. That's what, I thought it was the same type of people. No, it's the same person. It came, I don't know what the number, I thought the man had something he said about the but it came down to like same people, which was a certain percentage of a population of people. The same people in your neighborhood is the same one who's going to commit those crimes over and over again. It's like, if you think about it when you was growing up. I know when I grew up, we knew who was the criminals in the neighborhood. Did you? I knew who the criminals was.
Well, I knew people. Yeah, I knew people who would get into some stuff. I wouldn't necessarily label them criminals, but they were definitely the ones I knew getting into like.
No, you knew them.
Yeah.
You knew them by name, by face.
Yeah.
And some of them was your friends. Some of the people you grew up with. Some of the people you love and like.
Associates. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, I have real hard criminals I grew up with who was real friends. And still to this day, I still talk to them to this day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for me, no, I may associate with you, but no, I was trying to do some other things. So I can't.
Nah, I couldn't shake that, because at the end of the day, these are people you come with. You come up with now. You may not particularly indulge in the activity.
Yeah, but definitely not.
I knew you was a criminal. You respected that I was an easygoing. I was not that part of life. Yeah. So we had a mutual respect, and that's usually we make up 85% of our community. The people who don't commit crimes. But the 15% of the ones are the ones who are going to commit those crimes. And then you know who these people are. And if you live in a neighborhood like I live in a neighborhood, or most of the hood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those people are going to commit the same crimes in that particular community itself. And that's why it was so easy for cops to be able to track people down who commit these crimes.
Yeah.
Because you know these are the usual suspects.
Yeah.
The usual suspects are in every community they have them.
Yeah.
And what he did is he had the opportunity to do it, the research to be able to identify these criminals, and they came down to the same people. Same people commit crimes in the same neighborhood. And what happened during the pandemic, they started moving on the trains and they started moving to other communities. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. That's what, it's like you have a roach spray, you can contain your roaches.
Yeah.
But once you start spraying that spray, what happened to the roach?
Scatter. Yeah.
They scatter. And that's why we see crime happening in places that you never seen crime happening before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true. I mean, to interject on that, like I went to a community meeting where they were talking about the analytics of like certain communities with mental health centers and things like that. And in Harlem, in East Harlem, they got a lot of people who are hanging out. Still it's lessened over the years, but they got people hanging out who are addicted and homeless and things like that. And they were saying that the only reason most of those people that are hanging out over there in East Harlem, like on 125th, near 125th, those people aren't even from Harlem. They're from like Staten and the Bronx, but they only convene there because there's mental health centers there. And of course, politically, a lot of mental health centers, they choose to put them in those type of communities, black and brown communities versus Upper East Side, because Upper East Side is like, nah, don't put that stuff here. We don't want none of that. We don't want none. But
they're going to commit the crime in Upper East Side, then go back to Harlem.
Yeah, that too.
That's what they're going to do. So I'm going to go down to 60th and 50s and whatever it is, commit my burglaries or whatever have you, and then take the money and bring it back up to those areas. Because I can't sleep on the street on 63rd Street. Right. I can sleep on the street in Harlem or Washington Heights or something like that.
Yeah.
During the summer months,
Right.
So you're right. But it's the saying is that most of those people also come from out of state too now. You can see a lot of the people who coming in from other states, other parts of the country or something like that are coming in. And because we have this housing law that New York City have, which they should get rid of, the house of birth was in 24 hours. That's why they come. Other places don't have that law. Thus, those people who want to do it, they don't sit on the street. And they get upset, then they want to leave. So if you could change the law to house people within 24 hours, then you would start to see a change in population of people. But the problem with New York is that you don't want to lose human capital, because we are always at that point of losing human capital. Because life here is so, abrupt. Life in New York tends to be abrupt. It can go from nice to terrible in a matter of minutes. So ideally speaking, you've seen it during the pandemic. We went from a population of people, as soon as it hit, we lost a large population of people immediately. And then now you're starting to see the population of people coming back. But if something else like 9/11 happens, population of people fly back away, and then they come back again. So we live in an environment where people kind of like phase it, But on top of that, the people who are phasing are the ones who have the money. That's what you don't want to lose. And you see the same thing. You was around in the 70s. It happened in the 70s also.
Okay.
We had a large white flight in the 70s, but we also had a brain drain also in that point. Tax base dropped considerably because the people who was paying these taxes was gone. So ideally speaking, it's like anything else. Your better workers are going to leave. The better professionals or the better skilled people are going to stay. And if it no longer benefits, they take their show on the road. And that's what New York tends to be. It's a city like that, which has that population. But the population also pays most of the taxes also. So if you're paying a good percentage of consistent taxes and you remove that population, it's going to be a problem. So what we do here is we allow that policy to come in to keep our numbers high. So as long as we keep our numbers high, we have a good mix of people who are paying taxes, receiving services, and also underclass who can work for the minimum wage, which is $15 an hour, something like that. So we can keep that mix going. Now, will crime be a part of that? Crime is always going to be a problem. Anytime you don't vet the people coming in, you're going to have crime. So now you do, we're going to have a better police force. A police force is about policing whenever there's policing opportunities. You can call a police, but if he's dealing with another case, he's gonna drop the case and talk to you.
Right.
A police officer, I think they showed it during the pandemic, they was busy at every turn. They was never unbusy.
Wow.
So as soon as they, in the case, the average case take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. So let's say they're dealing with a domestic violence situation. Go in, remove the guy from the house. That's normally the process, right?
Right.
Go in, get his story, get her story. Once you get the story, remove the guy from the house, tell him to go someplace to a shelter or something, like give him the direction to the shelter. In the meantime, you do the police report, order protection. That should take no more than 20 minutes, right?
Right.
That was looking more like 2 hours. That looked more like 2 hours.
Was it more so like because like where they're gonna go because it's a pandemic? It's like more so that it's like
that was an issue also, and the fact that you may have had other issues with mental health going on. You may have had kids and ACS. She may not be in her mind either.
Right.
You know, if mommy's drunk or she's under the influence of a drug, do you leave her there with the kids in the house? Yet her and the boyfriend or the father fighting. So you see how a 20-minute case became. Now you got to call ACS, you got to call all these people to make sure that when you leave the case, you didn't leave the case wide open. That's what it was. And that's why crime was going crazy, because these guys are now dealing with a simple case that's much more complicated. Even if you have a person get hit by a car, that used to be a simple, call the ambulance, get a story. The person get hit by a car, that can be shut down for 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That's a 3-hour whole convention that's going on.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the reasons why the city is the way it is, but you don't want to lose people. You want to be, the more people in a city, the more opportunity there is. And you see it from when you go to small towns. You go for a small town, you see the option. Look at the small towns. No diversity,
right?
If any.
Right.
The store closed down at what time? 9, 10 o'clock at night?
Yes. It's about 8, 7, 8.
There's no market for a nightlife.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you want to keep that population. You want to keep that essence going on. And New York City is one of the unique places that does it, as well as parts of LA. San Francisco, they do that. I don't know if Chicago have. I think Chicago still have the 2 o'clock law, right?
Yeah, they clubs. As far as I know, clubs close down at 2 o'clock in Chicago. Yeah.
All right, and I'm pretty sure Boston have the same thing as well, right?
Yeah, they should, because they.
But anyway, no, it is what it is. But New York, though, we have a different law. I think ours is at 4 o'clock, I believe.
4, yeah, as far, yeah. Again, unless it's changed, from my memory, it's 4 o'clock, 4 a.m.
But 4 o'clock, but 5 o'clock is the start of the day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've
Isn't that retarded?
Right. I mean, I've had experience coming out the club, 4 in the morning. I'm like, wow, the sun's about to.
But
the sun's about to come up.
Like, why would you close at 4 when 5 o'clock in June?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
the city that never sleeps.
I could have stayed here all day.
Right. Go get breakfast. Hey, leave out. You came in at night, you left out and went to go get breakfast.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, but bigger cities are gonna have crime issues, and nothing we can do about that. But the idea is that if we can actually, address it from a human perspective, and I think the laws are preventing us from doing so. I think the fact that you have people who can get out of jail quickly. I think the fact that you can get people who have, I think to be honest with you, if I was in the criminal justice system, if a person have gotten arrested before for the same quality of crime, and it was, let's say it was a misdemeanor or a felony, they still should wait for their court date. They still should wait for their court date. You're talking about one strike, but you're here for the same thing. All right, you're gonna have to wait for your court date. So you're gonna sit here for a little bit. And the problem in New York City is that we have a problem with the court dates, because the court dates can be a year, 2 years down the line.
Oh yeah,
so imagine you sitting in jail for a whole year, waiting for a court date. So what we need to do is get a third party. Huh?
That's many people's story here in New York like that.
Yeah, but this is the solution to that, is getting a third party judicial system, for example, you get a third party that comes in and they're going to run the cases. You privatize the legal system, which means that you're going to get a private company that come in and they will hear the cases and they will pass judgment on that individual. A quickie, speedy, as it says in the Constitution, quickie, speedy trial, you know, in the Bill of Law, quickie, speedy.
Yeah.
You get a quickie, speedy within a day or two. You should be able to go to court within a day, have your arraignment. Oh, we got to get all the facts. We got to let the grand jury arraign. So do all of that, but that should be quick.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be sitting here waiting for the guy to go roll back the camera and get a subpoena to get options to the camera so that you can actually see this guy on camera. You know what I'm saying? That should happen immediately. And I think what we need to do is privatize the court system. Privatize the court system. I'm a proponent of privatization of government entities. I think it's the best. Yeah, I think it's the best thing going. Whenever you decide to let government run anything, it's never going to be running the way you're supposed to be ran. We've seen it with the telephone system. We see it with the transportation system. We see it with the plane system. We see it with everything. Those things was ran by the government for a lot of years, you know? But look at the plane system now. You can now lobby for a better price. You know, look at the telephone now. You can always, if you don't like your cell phone bill, call them up and make a case and see what happens.
Right. Yeah.
You know, my bill is $100. Let me get on and raise some hell and see if I can get my bill down to $59. You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And it works too. It works. Family, it works. Trust.
Yes, it works. Yo, buddy, it was great having this conversation, my man.
Definitely. Let me before we end, because just real quick, because it just happened the other day, family, 9/11, man. Give me a quick 9/11 story, and then we're gonna end it, because I definitely want to get that.
9/11 is a crazy. You know, it's ironic you saying that, because I was looking at a show, 9/11 show last night, right? I think it was 60 Minutes or something like that.
Yeah. And
that was 9/11 is the only thing I can look at that can almost bring me to tears, literally.
Wow.
That's the only thing that I can look at and really make me be like, yo, because what happened was when it happened, I was on the FDR Drive.
Okay.
FDR Drive is actually going south towards the Brooklyn Bridge. And I seen the plane when they hit the building, like, boom.
Wow.
The first one
or the second one?
First one.
Wow.
First one hit. So I'm coming down FDR. I'm just passing, like, I don't know if it's Catherine Street or something like that. So as you come down on FDR Drive, going south and going towards the Brooklyn Bridge to loop around. You know, you loop around like that?
Yes.
And I heard the plane go boom. So when I looked over, I seen like the smoke.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of paper flying out the building like that. Right?
Yeah.
And there was no, moderate traffic, like typical. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, yo, that's a big hole. It was shaped like a diamond.
Yeah.
It was shaped like a diamond, and it was a lot of smoke, no fire, just a lot of smoke and paper, like Xerox paper coming out. You know? So I'm driving down, and I looped back around. I got on top of the bridge, and I was heading out, because I was going out to Brooklyn when I was driving out there. Going to work, actually. So when I got to the other side of the bridge, and I was making the turn, where the courts is at?
Court Street and all that, yeah.
So I was turning down there, and then I heard another one. Boom! Another hit. There was 2 hits. And I was like, wow. But that didn't affect me.
Right. Did you hear it, or did you just did you hear it?
I heard it. Wow. And I seen the first one, but I heard the second one.
Okay.
It was so loud that you hear it. It was like, boom. Because at that point, because when the fire was going, it was like, you see, this is the thing that really gets me.
Yeah.
When I was on the bridge, right? Now, mind you, there was no radio, TV, or nothing. When I first seen it hit, I turned the news 1010 Win on, local news, 1010 Win. There was nothing. There was like, oh, we have an election, Giuliani and the borough president, all that stuff was coming into play. This is during the election. We had an election in November. Okay. So that was going on, right? Giuliani was coming mayor, something like that was going on, something, right? So I heard that, he was leaving and Bloomberg
was coming in.
That's what it was.
Okay.
So heard that, and there was nothing. What happened there? That's it. But when I got on the bridge, I seen the fire trucks. Woo! And they was coming heavy. I mean, really, and that's what made me become emotional
Okay.
because those were the people who was the first responders, and I seen them coming in over the bridge. They was coming from east going west
Yeah.
on the Brooklyn Bridge, heavy. I mean, it had to been like maybe 30 or 40 trucks just coming in. I never
Wow.
seen that many fire trucks
Yeah.
coming in, and they was coming in real heavy, and they was going towards the building. And I'm driving east. I'm trying to
Yeah.
get to Bed-Stuy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got to the office, I just turned on TV and I just sat there for like 2-3 hours just looking at that. And I'm thinking about the first responder. And then they were saying the first responders was in the late lobby. And then one of them collapsed. And as soon as it collapsed, I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
those are the very people you just seen
Mm-hmm.
in there like that. And then I got home. My neighbor who was living above me,
Mm-hmm.
he was working in a rainbow room. He never made it home.
Mm.
You know, a girl I used to go to high school, I mean, what was it, junior high school with? She used to work at Aon Reed. She never made it home. You know what I'm saying? And it's ironic because with her is that I seen her on the train going to work one time. You know, I took the train, I was taking the train to Brooklyn. This day I didn't drive, right? Took the train down and I seen her on the train and we, you know, have a great time. She said, yo, give me a call and, you know, hang out, you know, we just want to hang out, whatever that is, that day or whatever have you. And her card, I still have her card. It says Aon Reed, you know, advertising company.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there thinking like, wow, you know, this is crazy going on. And while it was going on, guess what I did? I was calling her phone number at her office. I'm like calling the number to see if she's there. Like, you know, who's this? But at that point, she was above the fire zone. So the plane hit here, officers up here.
Yeah.
She never made it home. She never made it home. The dude upstairs, the kid, the guy upstairs, because the thing with him is that we was both buying a house at the same time.
Okay.
So we used to come home, we used to always have that same conversation of, yo, did you talk to a realtor or you got a bank? Because we was, and my daughter was the same age as his son. They was the exact same age. My daughter was born in February, his son was born in March.
Okay.
You know, and we used to have and we was in, you know, we were just young men, just trying to make it, you know. He was from Nigeria. Okay. He was from Nigeria. He was, you know, he just got here and he was, you know, progressive trying to get his thing going. Yeah. And he used to work on it. And I'm looking at him like, yo, I'm calling his phone, no answer. And he was there because he used to do the morning shift. Like he used to get in like 5-6 o'clock. Okay. He never made it, man. And that was, whoo, that was tough, man. Wow, man. That was tough. And that is the only, because when I watched the show on TV, like 60 Minutes, you know, you can see people, but then if you know people, then you be like, yo, man. And then they never found the body. Yeah. They never found his body, man. They never found her body neither. Yeah. You know? And ironically speaking is I always, every time I go to the old neighborhood, I always look for her family. I know her family don't live there because we haven't lived there we haven't been there since the maybe late 80s or something like that, right? Okay. But every time I drive through the old neighborhood, I always look for her and see if her family still live in the area or something like that. But I know she passed because I see her name on the thing all the time. Yeah. But I was looking for a sister or a brother, and I'm pretty sure I don't even know. I can recognize him even if I see him. You know what I'm saying? Because you're talking about junior high school, and the last time I seen her, you know what? This was it. We was in junior high school. We was in 8th grade together. Okay. Right? Cool. After we went to high school, I never seen her in high school. We're in New York City, a big city, so you go to high schools all over the place.
All the place, yeah. Yeah.
So I never seen her. And then when I was graduating high school, I seen her again, randomly. Like, yo, what's going on? I haven't seen you in 4 years. And I was telling her I'm going to college, and she said she was, at that point, she was trying to get married. Okay. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Wow. And then that was, and the day before I was going off to college, we hooked up for a little bit. We went to the movies, we hung out, we did all this crazy stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yo, I'm going away, I'm leaving tomorrow, and I haven't seen her since. Fast forward maybe 10 or 15 years, I seen her on the train going to work, random. Like, yo, I've seen you in the, that's why I seen you, I was going to college, you know? Yeah. Here it is. 30 years old now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was it. And then she gave me a card. She worked A.O. Reed, and she had a couple of kids. She had a husband and all this other stuff. And she was gone within a week. That happened on maybe, I don't know, when World Trade Center, it happened on maybe sometime during a Thursday or Friday or something like that.
Good question, man. Yeah.
Because I know we're supposed to hang out that weekend, that Friday or Saturday.
Wow. So you saw her on the train like a week or so, or maybe a month before that. Man.
The week before leading up to it. So if it happened on a Wednesday, I may have seen her on that Monday.
Wow.
I don't know. It happened sometime, but I know I seen her the week before, and we were supposed to hook up that weekend. Wow. That weekend, yeah, it was that kind of party. So it was like, yo, we're gonna, we go way back. Mm-hmm. Differently. We go way back differently. Man.
Yeah, anyway. Way back. Yeah.
But it was that kind of party, and then when I was looking at the thing on 60 Minutes yesterday, I was like, yo. I felt emotional. I had to literally like turn away because I couldn't do it. Because and then,
What about the family? Like, of course, you and your family, and then the family, the brother from Nigeria. Did they just move like eventually?
Oh yeah. Let me tell you what happened. That situation was kind of weird. I knew him, but I didn't know his wife. Okay. I seen his wife, but I didn't know it. But what I was doing with his wife is I was observing her, even though because at that point I did purchase the house already, right? And I was in the process of moving. My wife, kids on vacation. I only had a daughter at that time. My wife and daughter was on vacation, so I was just moving all of the stuff into the U-Haul. It took me like maybe 2 weeks to move, but I did it all myself, But I was observing her, and at that time, she was the kid was depressed. They had this look of doom all over their face. And that funeral, I never seen a funeral take that long in my life, man. You talking about maybe a month between trying to get the people over here.
Yeah.
Trying to get people from all Africa. They wear the little African outfits and all.
Yeah.
She had all kind of people. But I did not engage her at all. I just observed because I didn't know her like that. But I know her husband, He was more of a confidant to talk to. And the child was like depressed. Now, they did the thing for 20 years later, and I seen him. The son is an adult now. He's like 23, 24 years old now.
Okay.
So when that happened, he had to have been like maybe 2.
Yeah.
He was like 2.
Yeah.
He's like 2. And now I see him having the interview. He's having a conversation about his dad. And I'm sitting here like, wow, he don't even know. He do not even know that he had a whole life going on around him that was absence of whatever he know. Because he's only 2 years. What are you going to?
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you don't.
He didn't know that his dad was positioning him, but he died in the process of positioning him. He never knew that. His son, he don't even know me.
Right.
He don't even know me to have the conversation about what your dad was in the process of doing. That was an amazing interview. And to this day, I have not reached out to the kid. I could not reach out to him. I'm like, yo, your dad was a great dude. You don't even know it. Your dad was a mover. He was doing more than one thing at one time. It's what it is. And, and what gets me is that when people give these stories about 9/11, it happened, but it was a doomed situation. It was a doomed situation. When I seen those fires, and I'm thinking, you see fire trucks, you think, oh, they're gonna mess up traffic.
Right.
Who you would think that those people in those trucks right there, all will be dead, most of them. Because the first truck that came in and they went right to the lobby and they started going upstairs and helping these people.
Yeah.
That was the first. They came in and they go was to get the people out.
Yeah.
Was it? Was it, man? And I'm like, yo, it was crazy, man. It was and then I'm trying to call my wife. I'm trying to call them. Trying to get home was tough.
Yeah.
I had to leave the city to get back into the city. That's how bad it was.
You had to leave the city to get back into the city?
Yeah, because I had to go out towards Long Island.
Wow. Because
they closed up everything. So I was in Brooklyn, so I had to go out towards Nassau to loop back around to get back into the city.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was crazy,
Wow.
man.
So,
But
so family, for those of you not in New York, that's like way east. So you gotta go way east to kind of loop back up to come back up. You know.
normally, if I'm in Brooklyn, I would just go back towards the Brooklyn Bridge
Yep.
and
And go up through
do my
Manhattan.
thing. Go up Manhattan.
Yeah.
And go up towards wherever I gotta go towards, Harlem or whatever have you, right?
Right.
I couldn't. I had to go out towards Nassau, go out towards Queens, and then loop back around because you couldn't even go to the Queensboro Bridge or nothing. There was no traffic coming.
Well, that's
in.
about maybe
No way.
like, let's say roughly speaking, if somebody driving, just to give our readers context, if they're not from New York, that's maybe like going like 50 minutes to an hour out to go back up again.
Yes.
Yeah, 50 minutes, 50, that's family, that's like 50 minutes, 50, 60 minutes going east to go to loop back
to go west.
around. Yeah, to go
to
west.
go north or west.
Yes.
Yes, that's what it was. And it was, and they was not letting people in. And you know what was ironic about it? It was so quiet.
That's what a lot of people say. It was eerily quiet.
It was
except for like the sirens and things like that.
Eerily
quiet. That's what
eerily,
a lot of people say. A lot of people say that.
You know how pandemic quiet used to be?
Yes.
Like that.
Wow.
But it was a worried quiet. It was almost like you was in like a sunken place quiet.
Wow.
You know, it's like a
yes,
that kind of quiet.
Yeah,
it was a weird quiet.
It's so weird for New York because New York is always noise, except for like maybe late at night. But even that, it's like it's just like an extended like minimal sound, and any sound was like, oh, what's that? Like, what's that? It's like,
you know what's ironic about it? I went to a conference, right? At the World Trade Center. I had to say maybe that spring. And when you went to the World Trade Center, they had pictures, you know, because actually, let me go back. In 94 and 93, there was a bomb in there.
Right, in the parking garage?
Yeah, my mother used to work on Court Street, the law department there, right? Right? My mother's part of the law department, the city law department. And the office was right up there on, I think it's Court Street. I don't know what it is. It's New York. It's in Manhattan.
Okay.
But it's not Brooklyn Court Street, it's Manhattan Court Street.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say Court. I was like, Court Street, like, no, I was like,
Manhattan Court Street.
Okay.
Right? So my mother was there.
The Lower Manhattan.
And I remember coming home and asking her, what did she feel about the whole experience? She was like, she was nerved by it. You know what I'm saying? She was like, yo, I can't believe they try to blow down this building. And she was saying that because her office was like, could have been like maybe 5 blocks up. Court Street is like 5 blocks up from the old World Trade Center. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
She said if that building would have fell, it would have literally went up the block where I'm at. It would have fell in that direction, you know? Yeah. So she was moved by it. And then what she did is she switched offices from New York, from Manhattan to Brooklyn, to their Court Street.
Wow.
Remsen, whatever.
Yeah. Wow.
So she moved from one location to the other location. I wish she was here to have that conversation, but I know why she moved, because it was, I mean, she was moved by that, you know what I'm saying? Even though it didn't happen. So fast forward, here it is, 2021. It was on 2001, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I went to a conference in World Trade Center, but when you walk into the World Trade Center, they have this thing where you have to take a picture and you have to come through a turnstile.
Okay.
Because of what happened in 93.
Yeah.
So they gave you a picture. Your picture will show up on a card. They give you a card, right? So you have a card, right? And your picture's on a card that says World Trade Center. It will say where you're going to. And then they had a bank of elevators. They had like this elevator, we're going into 20. The next one, you go on to 20, you go take that to 40 to 60.
Right,
you get off, take it. So you'll take whatever elevator you need to get to the certain point, right?
Yeah, right.
Really beautiful structure, right? But the thing that got me when I went to the conference was that I noticed that the windows were really, really narrow. Those windows were like jail windows. Okay. You know those narrow windows you can just look out like that?
Indeed. Yes, I do.
It was like jail type windows, like, whoa.
Yeah.
No, and I'm looking at it like, who can work here? Who can, cool. Fast forward, the summer comes around, right? Here it is now, June, July. There's this thing with Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon had a concert in between the World Trade Center.
Talking about the TV network, Nickelodeon?
Yeah,
Okay.
Nickelodeon.
The children's.
My
Okay.
daughter had to been like 1, 2 years old.
Okay.
So I took her to the Nickelodeon concert.
Okay.
In between the buildings, right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it, right? But I'm telling you. And they had the ball, you know that ball that they talk about that was crushed?
Yes.
There was a ball there. But what that ball was a sprinkler. So there water that came out that ball. There was a bronze ball that they talk about that they use on display right now.
Mm-hmm.
That ball sat in the middle of the two buildings. And the Nickelodeon concert was around that ball. And that had the sprinklers coming out that little ball. You know what I'm talking about? You wouldn't know. But anyway.
Yeah.
If you do research, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, family. Yeah, definitely look it up.
So I'm at the concert and everybody, and some tell me, look up. Just look up. I looked up like, oh my gosh. You know, the buildings are big.
Yeah.
But there was 2 of them. And the buildings was, I mean, I have never seen anything that big in my life. But I'm at the base and I'm looking up at it like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm thinking in my mind, when I see the building come down, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that. And it looks like, oh my gosh, it's way too high.
Yeah.
It's way, way too high. And if this thing gonna have to pancake down, you can't get out any of it was a hotel here. It was like 5 buildings around it. Yeah. It was a part of the World Trade Center. It was more than just 2 buildings. It was like 4 or 5 other buildings in that little area, right? So
from my knowledge, correct. That's correct. Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, this thing fall down, we got some major issues. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about the concert. And that was the summer. And then we went to Ellis Island, we went to, all kind of, that Statue of Liberty. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of New York thing in 01. We did a lot of New York activities. And then that happened in September. Wow. So it was a time where you was really involved in what was going on. Mm-hmm. And then in my mind, I'm thinking back about, the collapsing of that building. That building was way too big. Man. It was too big to fall. I mean, I have never seen anything that big in my life, but that's what happened, man. It was a crazy time, and I don't know if we're a better place for it. I don't know if we are a better country as a result of it. Some things can make you better as a person. Mm-hmm. I think we're always going to be scarred because of that. Mm-hmm. And even though we may do other things to other countries all over the world, but that it happened to us, so we know it, and it hurts us. Yeah, it hurts us. We know it, and the sad thing about it is that everybody knows somebody, at least knew somebody who was associated with that. I just so happened that I had intimate contact with the people who was actually in the structure. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then and then they had this conversation on 60 Minutes with the young girl who was actually online with the 911 operator. You see that one?
No, I didn't see that one. No.
Well, they had a lady on 60 Minutes who was going through the 911 conversation. She's like, oh my God. She said, I feel like I want to jump out the window. I feel like it because this room is getting really, really hot in here. And the 911 is trying to psych her out and let her think that everything is okay, when in fact it's not. Because underneath her, there's an inferno going on. A literal inferno. And she's back, oh, I don't feel good. I feel like I'm going to die in here. And it's getting really, really hot. Like, and what she's trying to tell her that is that the fire department guy who's on his way upstairs on the steps, he's like a couple of minutes away on the steps trying to get up. Yeah. And while they're talking, he was like, yo, well, I think I hear somebody. And she's saying, help, help. And then it goes silent. Yeah. She got back on the phone, like, I don't hear anybody anymore. Because what's happening in the steps is that the steps are buckling. Wow. Is buckling. The metal is buckling. And an 911 operator said, you going to be okay? And then all of a sudden, it went silent. And then you hear the 911 say, hello? Hello? And as she's saying hello, we seeing the thing pancake like, damn. Man. That's what made me like, whoa, man. That was a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is real life though, but that's deep.
Yeah, that's deep. It was a crazy situation, and then you have situations with people who are getting these benefits. My sister was working in the Lower Manhattan at the time, She was working right there on I think Water Street right there.
Oh, damn,
And
that's right there.
she came down with breast cancer as well.
Mm,
Stage 2 breast cancer. She was able to fight it. But she was a part of that whole process also.
damn, wow.
And she was telling me like, yo, I mean, it was like zombie land. She came home with the white. She said it took me forever to get home. So she may have left at the Wall Street area like 9 o'clock. She said I didn't get home till maybe 9 o'clock that night.
Wow.
I said, how did you get? She said, I had to walk.
Wow.
I said, you walked? She said, I had to walk.
There too. That's, man. Yeah. When I look at the footage and people, they had the family from Water Street to she live in Harlem. You say Harlem?
Yes.
That is a hell
Yes.
of a walk. Like that. I can't. Man, how many miles is that?
I don't know. It's a good walk, but
10,
she's
about 10
like,
miles, 10,
it's the
15 miles walk.
zombiness.
Yeah,
It's
and on top of being traumatized.
she was obviously traumatized.
On top of that,
I think to this day it still affects her to some degree. I think it has an effect on her.
I couldn't blame her. I would be shocked if it didn't, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
because it's just, I'm grateful that she was able to survive it with the breast cancer, and for those who were able to survive. But like, yeah, it's like you said, it's a permanent memory. Like, it's a permanent memory, man. Like that's.
And then we say New York City is a city of 8 million people. We say that often.
Yep.
We all know each other to some degree. You tell me where you from and what neighborhood you're from. There's some way someone can connect you to that neighborhood. It's a city of neighborhoods, really.
Very.
We don't see it that way.
I agree. I totally agree. It's not just the boroughs; it's the neighborhoods. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, because as a landlord, I noticed that also because I've been a landlord in, let's say, a particular block for the last 15 years. I've been a landlord on this particular block, right? You know who's who. 90% of the people in the next 5 to 10 years, you will know who's on that neighborhood, in that block. Especially during the pandemic, when everybody was able to come out and see. Now, I don't live in the neighborhood, but why do I know 90% of the people who live in this neighborhood? You know what I'm saying? And that goes for every neighborhood you go to. Like even this neighborhood I live here, I know at least 80, 90% of the people who live, and you don't know them per se. Like, hey, how you doing?
Right.
You'll know if this person lives there. And so that's what the city is all about. It's a city of neighborhoods.
I agree.
And people don't know it. And then you get transients that walk through, like people, UPS, a visitor, somebody just passed. You know those people.
Yeah.
But the people who live there, you know where they live. And that's what it comes down to. So when you see people who be affected by 9/11, it was crazy. And then we started putting up these flags, Those flags will symbolize people who have been lost in that particular neighborhood. So when you drive around, you start to see a lot of little flags hanging out people's windows, and you be like, wow, I didn't know this person lost someone. They did. Yeah. A scary environment. Very, very scary, No, and it's something that we could not have avoided because it came from the other administration. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That issue started back in the 1980s, and it flourished in the 1990s with Bush 1. That's when it really flourished. And at that point, by the time his son got in office, it was like, yo, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what that was all about. It was politics driven. We as a people had nothing to do with it. We were just sitting there as pawns. We didn't have anything to do with that.
Did not.
We didn't do it. We didn't commit a crime. We just went to work, take care of our kids. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Yeah, this has been a good one, man. I got to get up out of here, buddy.
Indeed, brother. I appreciate you sharing this with you, man. I appreciate that, seriously, because that's, it's a very traumatic experience. I wasn't in New York at the time, so, I definitely appreciate you sharing that. And on top of sharing everything else that we talked about today. Now, this is a great talk as usual. Family, give thanks. Thank you all for joining us and taking the time out to listen to us. Again, take everything with a grain of salt. Again, do your own research. This is just our opinion, just our experience, our wisdom, if you choose to take it or not, but definitely subscribe below. Definitely comment, like, share this video. If you have any comments, please put them down below. Again, we're not saying we're experts. We're just speaking from our own experience and our own life in general. So again, if you have any questions or have any comments, if you felt triggered by this, you know, our apologies. That's not the goal. Our goal is just to share this information, share our own experiences. So again, like, share, subscribe. You know, my channel. I got more videos to come, and definitely got more sets to come with Professor Kelly, man. Professor Kelly, give thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And next time I get a better light.
Right. Right. We have the mics and everything, the whole setup. We'll get in the studio soon.
You're a little professional, like I'm on the radio or something.
Right.
Have a good one, buddy. God bless you.
All right, you too. God bless. All right, take care, family. Peace and blessings.
All right.
All right.